Hey, I'm starting a new drawing tonight. You can see on the right I'm going to be trying to draw Akroma Angel of Fury. I think we're going to try to not do as complete of a faithful rendition as I tried to do with Archangel of Thune, but it's definitely going to take me more than just tonight, so we'll see how it goes. I'm going to try to place this a little better than I did Archangel of Thune and other drawings that I did. Trying to actually take into consideration where in the frame this needs to sit so that I can fit the details on the page. Like I did with Archangel of Thune, I'm first going to try to just sketch out the various parts of this to give myself kind of an idea of where things need to sit. And then we can kind of go back and do shading later. I think I want this to be a little bigger. Let's just try to sketch out the proportions now to try to see how this will fit into the frame. Make sure that I have enough space here for everything that I want to include. A lot of this goes off frame in the actual art, so it's a little easier to work with. I've got enough space on this side. We can move in a little bit. Yeah, we can move in a little bit. I want to try to start this one off with more space than I have been, so that I don't run to the edge of the page and go, but there's details that I wanted to put in there. Should be about that far. Alright. Like that. Here, probably to there. Excellent. Yeah, that looks like enough space. Alright, I think that's a good size. Good spacing. It's definitely one that we are not going to finish tonight. We'll have to come back to it hopefully tomorrow. If not tomorrow, I think Friday. And this is like Archangel of Thune in that it's definitely above my skill level. But I guess I like to challenge myself when I do stuff like this. I'd rather try to do something that I can't do and learn from the parts of it that I can't do, where my limits are, and try to improve on those, than to always be trying to draw what I know I can do. Especially in a situation like this where I'm trying to improve and trying to see where I stand with things. I think it's better if I try something that I don't think I can do perfectly, so that I am not only trying to do things more than what I think I can do and kind of learning from the things I struggle with, but also so that I have something to work from. If I was always doing things that I knew I could do, I wouldn't ever be really challenging myself to learn anything else. Now, one of the things I had some issues with on Archangel Thune was the expression, where I couldn't get it quite to look the way that I wanted to. Akroma here is a little bit easier because she is just very pissed. So even if I don't match it perfectly, so long as I make her look very angry, it will scan correctly. So there's a quick idea. She's got glowy eyes, no pupils, irises to work with, just glowy, squinty eyes that are very upset with you. I'm just going to draw this shape out, worry about the shading later. Which is really nice tonight, because I know that later won't be tonight. And that's a problem for me in the future to worry about. The art that I'm referencing here, which will show you at full source for a little bit. 1 second there. Let me fix that out. Forgot to switch over my source from last time, so since I don't have that open anymore, it doesn't pop up. we are learning how to stream as well. So that's our full source image there. Art by Therese Nielsen for the From the Vault Angels. And I really like the art. I like both versions of Akroma, so, but this art really caught me. I like the sword as a centerpiece there, so I thought it would be fun to try to draw. Sorry, we'll turn that to silent so it's not vibrating the table anymore. There we go. So I know right now it's not a very large piece of the canvas here, well, page, but a lot of the image is going to be the sword, which should probably end up that focal source around there, the wings, and the original image is square, so I'm probably going to end up cutting off some parts of the page here and just not having anything in them. So, I'm not sure what exactly about this art is that it grabs me. Like I said, I like the card, and I have an Angel Tribal deck myself, so I obviously have a little bit of a soft spot there. I knew today I wanted to do something magic related again. This is my preferred hobby, I suppose. And if I was going to do a magic card, it was going to be an angel. I really like a lot of what Therese Nielsen does. She's the original artist for this. And From the Vault's pretty recent, so stuck out in my mind a little bit. I like the two different versions of Akroma, originally conceived in the Future Sight set as the, alternate reality. What if instead of being mono-white, Akroma was mono-red? Fits within the story, that she could be this way, and you get a much different card, though a lot of similarities. Now we have new art for both of them from Therese Nielsen. There's 3 arts now for Akroma Angel of Wrath. That's the white version. And it's really hard for me to pick a favorite from among the 3 that exist. The original has a kind of iconic thing to it. There's a lot of magic art that has Akroma in it from that time, but the original card is one that I interacted with and helped shape me early on in the game, even though it came out much earlier than I ever got into the game. I still remember that card, and so that sticks with me pretty well. There's also the one that is from the dual decks, though, which is a much more modernized, much more kind of the kind of art you see now, where it's digital, it's photorealism, and it has a certain appeal as well. It's one that I might try to draw someday as well, but I think we need to increase our skill level a little bit before we start taking on projects like that. Therese Nielsen, though, does a really nice job with these type of paintings where you've got some parts that are a little more realistic, but you have some that are clearly more impressionistic. A lot of her tones on like the wings and in the sword really drew me in here. I also kind of like this hair, even though it's ridiculous. Like it's got basically just comes like right up into a point here. I like the expression here a lot too. Just this straight on stare is really nice. I'm somehow not surprised that I like Therese Nielsen art. I'm kind of partial to her as an artist in general. And here. This kind of ends up under the hand. Make it blank for now. Okay, so our little sketchy lines that we were framing things on. Noticing that they're turning out to be wrong anyway, which is a little worrisome, but if I go off the page, I go off the page. It won't surprise me if I do that again. So we don't really get too good of a look at Akroma's shoulders here. We get this one over on this side. We don't get to see the connection too much, so I'm just gonna kind of figure that out on my own. We're eventually going to get rid of it. We do see this shoulder. On this side, the arm is up, and it's just going to kind of go up to the side here. Like I said, right now I'm kind of more concerned with the general layout of the art here, trying to make sure that I get everything in the right spot before I start worrying about the details on it, which is not something that I always knew to do, but we are learning slowly as I draw more. And this comes in. Goes like that. This is all very sketchy right now. I'm just trying to make sure I can figure out where everything goes. I get the feeling I'm going to be erasing this and redrawing it and doing that quite a few times as I try to get this to look right. This stream's also going to be a little shorter than the last one, since it is during the week. I think we'll be on for about an hour. But I do work in the morning, which I'm dressed like this because of work. Let's take a look at our source again. We're obviously still pretty far from that, but you know, it's coming along. Starting to get the layout of where everything is. Okay, it's not too bad. Let's try to figure out what's going on with this arm. So I get the feeling this one's going to cause me a lot of problems. Her hand end up kind of around here. Just get a kind of hand shape. I think that might be a kind of direction. We'll see. And already I'm not following my guide, so why did I bother to draw it in the first place? It's a fantastic question that I do not have an answer for. And I guess because it's wrong is ideally the reason that I'm not following it, but I'm probably supposed to be following it more than I am. There's definitely some aspects of this I chose because it will be challenging. Some aspects of the pose are easy. It's a straight-on shot, but I know having the arm like this is not something that I'm used to drawing. So that's probably going to cause me some problems. We're probably going to end up spending a lot of time on that over the course of this drawing. Let's ignore that hand spacing, because if we're close, I think it's still fine. Much like the last angel I drew, because you know, the subject matter, there's armor. That is not always my strongest suit. This piece of art jumps between a more impressionistic style and a more photorealistic style. So I don't have one kind of way to shade things. The wings are going to be a lot more abstract. So, you know, going back and forth between that is going to be interesting. We have another very distinct light source in this one. again, from the sword, Archangel of Thune had a similar thing. I think this effect is easier to some degree, because it is just, it's kind of one singular point that it's all coming out from. Whereas with Archangel of Thune, it was across the sword that kind of led off of it. So I think that's a little easier. But definitely keeping a consistent light source is something I'm not overly familiar with. And this hand's gonna look really bad as I'm sketching it out here, but that's fine. So we will come back to it later and actually fill it in properly. Right now it's more about the positioning. I think that might work. And she's got like these armor plates here that kind of make this a little difficult for me to figure out exactly what's going on. And on one hand, you could argue like, well, you can't see it, so you can't really say whether or not it's wrong, but I get the feeling that if I don't set up my base properly, you're going to be able to tell that something's off, even if it's difficult to place. So even though you can't see where the wrist, completely bends here on the original art, I think it's something that you can infer. I think that's not too bad to start with. I'm gonna get rid of this sketch armor here, because we'll want to go back over it a little better. And we'll get rid of the proportion guide here that I failed to follow along with. And I guess drawing made me feel better, is how we'll try to pretend to justify that. Bring that hair in a little more there. She's got this kind of thing going on. This hair now, I know it comes down, something a little like that, as well as a little guy over here, goes down a lot farther. This one actually does too. So, do that for now, so that's a good approximation. This actually is a nice round piece, so that's actually how that's going to end up looking. And we've got kind of wiggly armor stuff here. It's going to go down to about there, comes up, goes in, has a lot of weird shapes going on, and that comes all the way up to this kind of area. So that's going to be the general shape of the shoulder there. With that a little bit more of a defined shape, it leads actually right into that shoulder piece underneath the hair. It is a nice clear line. So that's working out. Looks like I'm giving Akroma a little t-shirt now, which is odd, but we'll get past that. Let's spend a little bit of time up here, because I think I'd like to get the sword into the right spot, at least. Looks like I know it should be approximately up here, but where up here? Not entirely sure. So let's see if I can't set this up correctly. So we have the arm come up, hold the sword up very high. And I think I'm going to say maybe about that high. Thinking it's probably about right. And our hand, which we are going to make kind of a box right now, is up here holding on to it. Bring this in, joins back in with the hair. Which is eventually going to come up into this ridiculous point there. Now sword. Sword is at kind of this angle, kind of like that. Might end up being a little high. Take a look back at our source. So I'm not sure if I'm too high on this arm, if I have it up too high. Thinking, oh no, maybe not. You know what, maybe we just try it, and if it turns out terribly, then, well, that's unfortunate. Switch back to aim. Because, I don't know, it seems a little bit, maybe not. It's fine. So we want it to be at kind of, I'll use my pen here. I want it to be kind of that angle. It's supposed to sit in the hand, kind of like that. Goes out back like that, actually. So I think that's not a bad angle. Just give myself a little guide there. So, as a general rule, our sword handle is going to go way back to here. Because it's actually more of a two-handed sword that she has. She's just holding it up one hand, because that's how she is. And then, this has a lot of stuff going on. But we know it's going to have kind of that shape. Getting into here, and it's a pretty wide blade. The Sword of Vengeance, though this looks different than the original version, because this is an alternate Akroma, Sword of Vengeance is not a light sword. Our blade, I really want to kind of something kind of like this. And it just goes off frame, so I'm going to take it all the way to the edge of the page. It is a big, wide sword. I'm probably curving that in too much, right? And this is just sketching out the general shape to kind of place everything on the drawing before I get too deep into it. So if I do need to change something significantly, it's not a big deal. So that's Akroma's very pretty sword. Yeah, needs a little work. But I'm thinking, because the hair is going to go up like this, kind of loop its way into there. So I think the only thing is that this needs to actually be kind of down here. I think that that angle's good. I think that size is about right. It'll obviously, this is going to change a lot. But, you know, sketching. And this is our light source. And it goes out at some angles. 5 distinct points at which it flares out and actually cuts across everything in the picture. So it's in the foreground. The light source is actually the foreground, which is interesting. I don't have any that goes up, strangely, but that's definitely something that's going to happen after I've gotten this into a better spot. I think it's kind of where we want the bottom. And that's kind of where we want the top. So far I'm actually pretty happy with my framing of things, because it could have gone a lot worse. I could have been running off frame a lot here, but I don't think I am, which I'm pretty happy about. This guy is going to come up like that. I think it's supposed to be attached here, but and you'll see I'm stopping short of the bottom of my page, because that's where the source ends. Whether or not we'll extend it, I'm not sure yet. I'm thinking no. I think I want to cut it off right where the source is. I think that better than me trying to interpret what might be there, I am probably better off just sticking with the source. At least at this stage. We'll eventually get to the point that I'll be, deciding to add stuff and kind of changing the work more significantly than changing the medium that it's in, and applying a much lower skill level to the, to the composition. I definitely think I like this new kind of rhythm I've gotten into that is mainly learned from my work on Archangel Thune, of trying to sketch out everything first. And that probably seems obvious. Like, why would you not do that? But you learn as you go. And what I would usually do would be to kind of like focus on an area and build out from that area. What would often happen, though, is I would lose sight of kind of where things are on the composition as a whole, and find out that, if you look at this part on its own, it looks fine, or if you look at that part on its own, it looks fine, but they definitely don't go together, which is not ideal. So, we are trying to learn. And I think I actually want to bring this in a little. Let's change this up a little. This armor's going to be redrawn a bunch of times as I try to get it to sit correctly. Then as I erase it again, add details, and erase those details to some degree, and add shading, and a lot of these are gonna, a lot of what I have drawn is going to go away at least once before we're done here. Take a look at our source. I think we're a little too low on that armor. Yeah, just a little. I'll have to bring it up. Like I said, a lot of erasing, a lot of redrawing. I don't know if this is going to turn into another 3-day drawing. It depends, I guess, on how much time I end up getting to put into it on Friday. Or tomorrow. If it's tomorrow, it will be a 3-day drawing. If it's Friday, it might be 2. Alright, what do I think about that? I think that's at the right height, at least. We can work from that. I'm listening to anime music here as I'm working today. Decided to listen to Rookies is Punked. They did the opening and ending to Durara, which I watched the first season of and greatly enjoyed. I want to watch more of that eventually. Need to make some time for that. I'm not sure why I'm erasing my guideline there, since this will be erased eventually anyway. I'm just going to get ring here. It comes up to quite the point. Comes back down, kind of that shape. Got some stuff over here. It circles in. We do have a line here, but ultimately comes down kind of like this. Sort of getting on these shapes. And there's some more pointiness over here. It's at a little bit of a different angle. This comes back down. Little ring there. This, I think I made that a little too big. Make it kind of that size. And it comes in, it's got some points here, does some stuff. Like there's kind of fill-in stuff here. So we have armor that's kind of doing this sort of thing. Which means this line needs to come up, because it's brought the rest of it up. All of that gold stuff there actually has some, I guess, silvery stuff. It sort of follows it along, comes down like that, up again, over here, and we have this guy down there. Alright, we're starting to get somewhere. Right now it kind of looks like Akroma is really into owls. Got eyes here. This is a little off center from our actual guide. We kind of want it to come down to there and then up. Not too far off from our initial there. These are supposed to be a little closer, but I probably just put this a little bit. Point has like kind of secondary point there that should be kind of like that. There we go. Yeah, I think that that's a good start here. I'm noticing that a little off down at the bottom here. Let's take care of that. Ever-evolving piece. Mainly because I can't get things right the first time. But I guess if I could get everything right the first time, it wouldn't be all that interesting. What do I think of that? That a little bit better. Switch back to source. Yeah, it's closer. I still don't think it's quite there, but we'll figure that out. Let's get this shape a little better. And these are a little sketchy even in our actual source here. And of course I can make them less sketchy if I so desire. I have that power. Something kind of like this. Come up like that. And it comes down. I think we're just going to go for that for now. It's got more variation in that shape. It looks a little bit more like what I'm going to do on this side. kind of has a sort of flower or leaf shape here. Goes in and out. Yep. Something kind of like that. And it's, it's got shapes in there too. Kind of like that. Yep. So, we'll figure that out. But that's not a bad kind of first start on it. I'm gonna play with this hand a little bit now. I think this needs to come up. There we go. Still needs some work, but I think we're closer. So this hand goes up kind of like this, with this angle. I get kind of this shape. We actually get to see the palm here. Which puts our thumb over here. Our fingers get this all kind of blends. She's got strappy stuff here. We have like this nice little bit of shading here that lets you know, like, hey, this is the palm, that is not. Then the fingers get really kind of vague. They're kind of pointy. The hand is definitely something that's going to be frequently drawn. But that's a general idea of what that hand's doing. I've drawn worse. Let's go with that. That sounds encouraging. It's like, you have done a worse job than that before. And really, I mean, it's not too bad of an expectation to have. You don't need to do everything perfectly, and I don't expect to do everything perfectly. My goal is to do things better than before. And this is better than what I've done before, so, can't be too upset about it. So we get something kind of like that going on. This ends up being kind of obscured by the light, so I'm taking a couple guesses as I sketch here. But definitely goes way up. Because red mana Akroma, Angel Fury here, is basically on fire. but it's all in her hair. She's just got really big, wavy, on fire-ish hair. Not actually any fire in her hair, it just has similar kind of properties as far as the shape goes. Definitely meant to kind of place that image in your mind. You look at Akroma here and you're like, she is somewhat, somewhat of a fiery temper perhaps, being Akroma Angel Fury. So, kinda like that, a little less pointy. Definitely way too pointy right now. And I'm still having trouble kind of placing this with the hand, because it's not supposed to go beyond it, like I have here. Like, she kind of places her hand right to the edge of the hair. But that's not a bad start. So that's not too bad for now. Up here around this hand, she has similar armored over here. We get to see it kind of from another side. And you see, I mean, you can tell there too, but you see here, it's pretty robust. It goes out, back in. It's got different kind of plates going on. And it wraps around. It leaves the back of her arm open, but you don't really need to have the same kind of protection there. But it's a pretty significant piece of armor there. Pretty big, pretty... It's actually kind of goes out like that. So that's a good idea there of kind of how that's going to look. Comes down here, we have this arm. You can see kind of the silvery kind of armored there. We also do get to see the underside of her shoulder plate. Which kind of gets lost in her hair here. So that's working. There we go. So that's pretty good. And right from here, we get to see the wing. This one goes right up to here, and that's where the frame stops. Given that the wings are mostly kind of one color, not a whole lot of, like, it's varied within, but there's not a lot of detail, I might extend those further. We will see. That's definitely not a decision that I need to make at this end. This actually needs to come out. It's supposed to be more like this, actually. Just maybe something more like that. It still goes on these numbers, but it is way out here. Now we're getting more to where this is kind of supposed to go, so I'm liking that. There we go. Yeah, that's a little much. That's probably where the actual curve is. The armor will come out from there, but for now that will do. Goes nicely with the arm, goes up. And the bottom of our wing is right around here. And it does have a little bit of a feather kind of effect here. We're just going to kind of sketch it out to this direction right now. did that really light. But you get the idea, it's right around there. So there's where that wing goes. I realize that I am a little bit over this way in frame here, because I feel like this is supposed to have a little more that it can do. Go back to our source. See, it kind of goes out farther there, but since it is all just, the wing, and it's a little kind of vague and in general, I think that's fine. I mean, I guess really, given the size that I'm drawing this at, which is questionable, I suppose, the image is square. To show you again, this is a square. My page is a rectangle, but I'm almost entirely on the page vertically, so I'm going to lose some this way. I'm not too upset about it. All of these details end up going off the page anyway, so the fact that it goes off the page there is not too bad. It occurs to me that this shoulder needs to be higher. Yeah. So it's actually going to be up here, kinda. That plate's going to be like that, and like that. There's going to be armor there. Because the wing actually does something like this, and I shouldn't even be able to see that, so I'm still doing something wrong, but kind of like that, and then comes up, kind of this angle. Goes all the way up, off frame. It's not the final sword shape anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and draw through it. So that's where the wings are looking like they're going to sit. So this comes down, maybe right around there. And we're just going to take this. That's that angle. This is supposed to kind of come in from here. Comes into about there. Back down. Kind of like that. And this starts right around there. Our top line. Kind of go like that. And this piece of armor here. This one needs numbers. And it's got shapes like this. Something kind of like that. What's down? Kind of like that. And we've got big jump belts. These are some actually pretty decorative belt buckles, but for now, they are squares. There. This comes up. Goes around. There's a belt that's right here. This is like all completely made of straps, which is a little bit weird, but that is what it is. So those will be details that we will handle later. So that's not looking too bad. Let's go up to the sword here. I'm gonna make this a little easier on myself. My guide here. This hand is very kind of vague in our original source. So I understand that it's let the sword sit right there and kind of comes over top to grab on. It's kind of that shape. Obviously gonna need some work, but so this normally goes off frame. It actually does kind of end back here. And then I'm just going to draw right through the hand. And then we'll come back in, get rid of that line. There we go. So now you get the kind of sense that this is being held, in some manner right now by some sort of featureless clamp. This goes out to here, and right about there it meets with this thing. This is a little bit complex. So again, we're going to kind of get the details on later on. Right now we're just going to get the shape kind of down there so it is no longer a big box. But it's not going to have all these tendrils. You know, it's going to come in like that, go out about as far, do the same thing. Then the blade is going to come out just about that, about there on each of it. And it's going to go down. So, looking at my source here, this comes down here somewhere eventually to meet. Something like that. So we are going to kind of try to interpret where that would be and just sort of aim for that. And I really, I'm going to come back with a ruler and do this. But for now, saying that I want my point to be probably about there. So I think we're just going to aim in, not back out. Let's get rid of this so we can kind of see what we're doing. It's kind of like that, I think, is what we're going to end up with. Erase all this crap. And similarly on this, we want the point to be out there somewhere, so that's almost just going to be flat. Nonetheless. You see, I brought that in actually further than I wanted. There we go. So it's not too bad. Kind of curves in and out, huh? Yeah. But yeah, it's probably worth doing it right now, huh? Let's get rid of the sword entirely. Because this handle doesn't tilt enough, which means I'm not tilting my sword enough. So let's erase our handle back here. About here. We want it to kind of go a little more like this, I think. That looks better. So again, something kind of like that. I ended up wider back here. It's fine. And we actually want this come down. It's actually still not enough. So what we really want is we want this sword to point down. Not a lot, but a little bit. Then let's go ahead and draw this line first. There we go. Then this line. Kind of like that. What do you think of that? Back over to our source. Yeah, it's a little better. Sword's still pretty wonky. But, like I said, we're going to be coming back to it. But I wanted to get this kind of idea here where this is going to come kind of like this. And it's going to wrap around the back of the sword. And come in front here, kind of goes up, comes out here. The sword, similar to Akroma's hair, is kind of on fire. This actually is going to loop down into here, and it goes onto the handle. It's kind of all over the place. Definitely does one of these numbers. And this is our light source. It's actually kind of like right here. And it's going to leave that off. This comes up and kind of this thing. It's got stuff coming off of it. But this is our general shape. Just an idea of what we're going to be doing. Still needs a lot of work, but this is a good starting point. Jump back over to the source here, just to give us another look. So that's what we're trying to get close to here. And this is what we have so far. We're obviously a little off. Pose isn't quite right. A lot of detail missing. Some size might be wrong here. Sword's a little curvy where it's not supposed to be. But I think we're not too bad. I like the direction we're going here. But it is getting late, and I do need to get up for work in the morning. So that is going to be where we're going to have to cut it off for tonight. I will be coming back to this, like I said, hopefully tomorrow, but that depends on how things work out. But either way, when I come back, be it tomorrow or Friday, it will be up here. Good night.